All right, so this is lesson 6. This is going to be an introduction into some transition effects and a little bit with the effect palette. So I have a sequence down here, and we're going to play with the quick transition button, which is right here. Okay, this could be located anywhere on your tool palette right here. Mine is over here, but what you're looking for is it looks like a dissolve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position my indicator bar where I want a transition to go. And I'm going to click on my quick transition. When I click on my quick transition, you can see this transition window that pops up. Up here, I have my transition selection tool. So I can pick between dissolve, film dissolve, so on and so forth, dip to color, fade to color. This is really a great tool if you want to just do some quick transitions throughout your sequence instead of going through the effect palette and looking for it and clicking and dragging it on. This allows you to change everything pretty quick. The next thing is the type of transition that we're going to use. So right here we're going to be using a dissolve. Okay, dissolve up here. And notice where I have it positioned. So this is my A. Okay, this is my A clip. Over here is my B clip. And it is really important when you guys are editing that you have enough handle before you edit your clips into the sequence. So what I mean by that is when you edit a clip in, you have to make sure your in point and out point are not close to the edge of the frame. Okay? I'm just looking at my notes real quick. So because it feeds off of clips as it goes in and out of clips for your transitions. My target drive is down here. This is where it's going to be saving. So I'm not using edit share. I'm using my own external drive. So this is where my effect is going to save. Over here is where it's going to apply to. Okay. So right now I have video 1 and audio 1 on my tracks. But I only want the transition to go on my video track. So I'm going to turn audio off. So now it's only going to be applied to my video track. I'm going to hit add and render. And then you can see how it puts in a quick transition. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that real quick and go back to quick transition. The duration is how many frames per second you're going to have your transition. So because our settings are set at 24 frames per second, 24 frames equals 1 second of a 1 second transition. So if I wanted my transition to be half that, say maybe a half a second, you divide 24 by 2, it would be 12. And it instantly makes your transition, okay, half speed. So I can add that, and you can watch as it plays. It's a quicker transition. I can also change this to, say, a dip to color, and add that in, and it automatically changes it to a dip to color. Okay, so all different types of transitions that are in that window that you can add to your timeline. So say I wanted to put a dissolve on every cut in my sequence. Okay, so instead of hitting quick transition, then go to this cut, hit quick transition, go to this cut, hit quick transition. I can actually do this in a really simple way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark in and I'm going to mark out around the cuts that I want to put my transitions on. So I'm going to put it here, 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 and here. I'm going to go into quick transition, and I'm going to turn off my audio because I do not want to add it to audio. Notice how it defaults to what you saved it at the last time you added a transition. So it's automatically at 12 frames. Okay. I'm going to check this box right here, which is apply to all transitions into out. So I'm going to check that button, hit add and render. A couple of renders, and now I have transitions on every cut. So it's a time-saving tool. Okay, if you wanted to put transitions throughout your entire sequence, quick transition, in and out, apply to all transitions into out. Okay. If you don't want transitions, okay, say I don't want this dissolve here, put your indicator bar right on the transition, hit the remove effect button. I always called it the no smoking sign. But the remove effect button gets rid of your transition. Okay? Another thing that you can do is utilize the transition manipulation tool in your Smart tool, which is over here. So the transition manipulating button, you can click that on, and if you notice, my transitions all of a sudden got these little boxes on each one, on each end. So I can say this one I made it 12 frames. Okay, say I made this dissolve 12 frames, but I want it a little bit longer. I can click on the transition manipulation button and then make my transition bigger by just clicking and dragging. So now I have a longer transition. So it gives you that manual option if you choose. Okay, so the Smart tool and transition manipulation button, which is right here. So quick transition manipulation button, and the remove effect button. Okay, can all be found there. Sometimes you have audio, and there might be a click or a pop in the audio. So you can do an audio crossover by just adding a dissolve in between audio cuts. So say you have two sound bites that you're putting together, and when it goes from one sound bite to the next, you hear like a click or you hear a pop, and you want to get rid of that. Just click on your quick transition, make sure your audio is on only, and then just a simple 10 frames, add and render, and that will put a dissolve on in between your audio clips, and that should eliminate any clicks or pops and make a nice smooth audio transition. Okay. Any transition you put on audio is going to be a dissolve. So even if I have this as a fade from color, if I hit add and render, it instantly puts a dissolve in there. You can't put a fade from color on your audio tracks. If you want to have your sequence fade up from black, okay, you can go into quick transition, click on fade from color. So it's going to fade from black. It always defaults at black. And I'm going to do this not centered on cut, but starting at cut. So you can see how it moves the transition over to the right, which means it's going to start right at the cut. I hit add and render. So now when I hit play, it's going to fade from black. Okay? It'll fade from black. I can do the same thing at the end. Go into quick transition. I can fade to color. Oh, wrong button. I can fade to color, which means it's fading to black. And I can actually slide this so that way it ends at cut. Okay, so right here. So I have it custom because I moved it, but you can do ending at cut. So when I add and render, it puts a fade at the end. So it will fade to black. Okay, so fade from color at the beginning, fade to black at the end. Finally, just real quick, going into the effect palette. Something you guys have already done a lot of. But just as a review, I'm going to go into, say, image and click on a color effect. So over here is the category of the effects, and over here are the effects that go with that category. You just click and drag, say a color effect onto a clip. This is a segment effect because it's going right onto my segment. I can go into the effect editor by clicking on that button. It brings up the effect editor window, and it is unique to whatever effect you have clicked on. So this right here is a color effect. So I can go ahead and I can change the color of the contrast, the brightness, the color, okay? Whatever it is that I want to do, I can change that through my effect editor, okay? Notice how it's different. Say if I click on a dissolve, the effect editor changes, okay? And it only gives me the elements that I can change in order to play with a dissolve, all right? So the effect editor is going to be based on the effect that you have clicked on, okay? That is all for exercise or for lesson 6. Use this as a review, and we'll see you in lesson 7. Leon out.